I've been watching the Age of Empires forums recently and I've noticed that there are rumors of a DLC for the 25th anniversary. There is no doubt that sooner or later there will be a patch or an update that there is a great possibility for the addition of new civilizations. With that in mind, today we are going to take a look at which civs are the most anticipated by the players and how possible is that we are going to see them in-game. First, let's start a war at the comment section and talk about the Balkan civs. I highly doubt we are going to see any Balkan civ, excluding one which I'm going to talk about in a minute, because the Balkans were always consisted of smaller kingdoms with often interchangeable borders in short period of times. Besides the Bulgarians, which is the only Balkan civ that actually formed an empire that stood for centuries, the rest of the populations of the Balkan Peninsula were smaller kingdoms with small populations and were most of the time subjugated to the Byzantine Empire or the Bulgarians. You can argue with me about the Serbians or the Croatians, but they never had a so-called empire. But there is another Balkan civ that is famous amongst the fans and I believe there is a possibility to see it in the future DLC. That civ is the Wallachians or Romanians. Devs already included the Dracula campaign, so there is a good chance to see them in game. Now about their bonuses and what they might look like in game, there are some theories in the forums. They could favor hit and run tactics as the Romanians relied much on guerrilla warfare tactics, especially against the Turks. Also the Wallachians made huge use of cavalry units which were of Western style. Because of that, some kind of bonuses could apply to their stables too. Their unique unit could be one that it is specialized in hit and run tactics. Not another cavalry archer though, maybe a light cavalry slightly better than the hussar, or a ranged melee unit like the Zbeto or the throwing axemen of the Franks. Now that we've seen the Wallachians, we move to another requested civ, the Rus. Most people suggest, including myself, to just change the name of the Slav civilization to Rus, Kievan Rus or Ruthenians. Slav is a more of a generic term when describing Slavic groups or peoples, rather than a kingdom or an empire. I think that Ruthenians or Rus is a more distinguishing term for the game, or even Moravians, but they were considered Western Slavs and I believe it's better to have a more Eastern Slavic representation in the game. Also, we already have many Western civs, there is no need to add more. But besides the name replacement, I wouldn't change the Slav stats or units. Guys, before we move on, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. A small click from you means a lot to me. Thank you in advance and let's move on to the video. Another possible rename, although I don't see it often, most people seem to agree, is renaming the Sicilians into Normans or Italo-Normans. The group of people that the game describes as Sicilians during that period of time is basically Normans that invaded Sicily and many of them became inhabitants, creating kingdoms along the way. Sicilian at Middle Ages could mean anything from Greeks to Arabs until the Normans came as mercenaries and later settled in the area. They were called Italo-Normans, so renaming them such, it seems fitting to me. Again though, I wouldn't suggest any changes in units or stats, just like the Slavs. Now the next topic is about the Chinese. There is a debate of splitting the Chinese into multiple civilizations, the way the Indians were broken down to other civs. It could be a Chinese DLC of course, but I don't know how much of a good idea it is. Possible civs that the Chinese could be split into are the Khitans, Tanguts, Yurchens, I'm sure I butchered their names, and more. Now how possible is for us to see a Chinese split? I think it's unlikely. And the reason why is that the Chinese is an old civ from the Age of Kings era, and I don't think the developers will try to alter them in such an extensive way. Besides that, I don't know the amount of the interest that exists in the Chinese audience that are currently playing the game. If there are too many Chinese players, then I can see how that would be enough to initiate a new Chinese DLC. I've recently also read about new African civs, despite the fact that the addition of Malians and Berbers and the already existent Saracens, most African kingdoms of the Middle Ages are covered by these civilizations. Basically, Malians covered the majority of West Africa, including Ghana, and the Ethiopians cover Nubians and Somalis, while Saracens cover Egypt and part of Tunisia. So, West, North and East Africa is already represented in-game. So, if a new African civ would be added, it could be something from the south, like Congo or Great Zimbabwe. I can't think though what their unique units, techs and bonuses would be. Last I came across this poll at Reddit, and although it's old, it argues the need for more American civs. As you can see, the majority of the people want more American civs from all the continent, while another significant amount doesn't want at all. For those who want more, the top civilization picks are the Sioux and the Iroquois. Iroquois seems like a suitable idea since there is already an existing unit in the game, the Iroquois warrior, with its own model and skin. Some ideas about their bonuses and stats are taken by Sir Virdrich, I think it's called, at Age of Empire forums. Such suggestions include berries last 85% longer, fishing units generate 8% more gold, and more as you can see. Elite skirmisher upgrades are free and more bonuses. Later we see another unique unit, the Manlet, a slow moving siege unit that launches multiple spears. For unique techs they could get the Tevarathon, I don't know how to call this. All units move and attack 10% faster, although that seems a bit overpowered. But anyway, of course missing techs are included, but feel free to take a look by yourself. Anyway, these are some civilization suggestions according to Age of Empires community, but I would like to hear your thoughts on this too. What changes would you like to see in the new DLC? Would new civs be included, and if yes, which ones? Let me know in the comments. I will see you in the next video.